Hi, I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for joining me for this 30-minute yoga practice. Yes, I am standing on a yoga mat, but if you don't have one, just find a place in your house that's carpeted or maybe on a rug, not too slippery, not too hard, and you'll be fine. Although I'm barefoot, you're also welcome to keep your shoes on. I like to have a chair, just in case. It can become a very helpful prop. And a couple of blocks. Maybe you've got some thick books that you could substitute with. A folded towel, I'm going to bet you probably have somewhere. It could be the throw blanket from your couch as well. Once you have those things, we'll get started. Imagine that you're facing what would be the long edge of your mat. And again, if you don't have a mat, don't worry. Feet hip distance, we start in our Tadasana, our mountain pose. It's the bedrock of all poses, and it's also the pose that we do the most in our real life. Standing with good posture. Standing with an uplift to our heart and to our gaze. And I mean that in every way. Let your chin be parallel to the ground and think ears over shoulders, over hips, over heels. And if you turn your palms away from each other and let that happen at your shoulders, that uplift of your sternum, your chest bone, your heart will be automatic. 3 moments here to stand and find our breath with our feet in the ground and our head to the sky. Now we'll step wide, thumbs to the sky. And your feet are basically underneath your wrists. We're going to adjust that a bit in a moment, but that's a place to start. And then we will turn from our right hip, our right foot to face the short edge of that mat, and then left heel cheats back at about a 45-degree angle. And I'm going to bet that all of us have to adjust this a little, so let's try it on for size. Bend your right knee, and my knee is in front of my ankle, so I need more forward and back space, and maybe you do too. So we're looking for a vertical line from our right knee to our right ankle. We're not tipping forward, so imagine that mountain pose has come with us, and you're just dropping your torso in between 2 working legs. Now we'll straighten our front leg and V-shape our arms to the sky, thumbs to the sky, and go back and forth that way. So bending and straightening. It's called a dynamic warrior 2. Now I like to assign the exhales to my bent knee and the inhale to when I straighten, and maybe you can work something like that out too. So we inhale as we straighten the front leg and take our V shape, and then we exhale as we bend our front knee. Let's go back and forth a few more times like that. Just a warm up with some dynamic movement. Let's hang out for a moment here in Warrior 2. So bend your front knee. You can kind of think of your front thigh becoming parallel to the ground one day. It doesn't have to be today. But can we find the majesty of our mountain as we stand here and use that back leg? We prefer that the back arch be lifted and alive, not collapsing. And you can think of pressing your left thigh bone into its hamstring a bit. No need to ride our shoulders into our ears. If your arms get tired, just lower them. And when you feel inclined, you can bring them back up again. 2 moments where we are. And then lower your arms and straighten your front leg and turn all your toes to face that long edge of your mat. Second side, from your hip, turn your left foot to face the short edge of your mat and cheat your back heel at that 45-degree angle. We should have a pretty good idea of spacing because we were just on the other side, but we'll see. We'll bend our front knee and then just see. Maybe a little adjustment needs to be made. You may have shortened your stance as we switch sides. And then we become dynamic here. The inhale is a straight leg and thumbs to the sky, V shape. And then the exhale is a bend to our front knee in warrior pose. And we go back and forth as we say hello to Tippy, who's making her way to a little corner in the sun. Take inhale, arms overhead, front leg straight, and exhale, bend to the front knee. We'll go back and forth a few more times here. If my pace is too quick for you, feel free to slow it down. And then let's hang out in our warrior two, thumbs to the sky. Stamp that left heel into your mat and feel that you're standing in your mountain. So we don't want to pitch forward towards our left hand. We're sort of thinking we wouldn't mind leaning back towards our right hand. Remember that if you want or need to lower your arms and bring them back up, that's exactly what you do. 2 more moments here. Now we'll straighten our front leg, lower our arms and turn all toes to face the long edge of our mat. Let's heel toe our feet so we're about 5 inches closer together. Thumbs to the sky, a V shape as you extend your arms. Exhale, hinge at your hips, little soft bend to your knees, and traction your hands onto your thighs. We do this a lot as sun salutations, but we'll keep our wide stance. I don't want your head to go lower than your hips. So press into your thighs and lift your hips up so it's a hinge at your hips and an elongation of your spine that feels like a juicy stretch in the backs of our legs without any danger of our head going too low. Stay for a few moments here. Little preparatory move for our next bit of business. Now slowly come upright and we will heel toe our feet hip distance because we want to mindfully maneuver our props now. You could take your chair and scoot it so that it is halfway down your mat with the seat facing out, and I'll show you how to do that. You can also take your 2 blocks and put them on either long edge of your mat, but we never want to operate with those underfoot. So I do want you to be careful as you move your props. I'm moving my towel out of the way and placing my chair midway down the long edge of my mat. So now we have a bunch of options, and that's always a good thing to have. From there, we will return to our wide stance. So arms out to the side, and then we'll start by stepping our ankles underneath our wrists. So that's a good starting point. Just like that warrior two a moment ago, turn your right leg out from its hip and let your right toes face that short edge of your mat. Cheat your left heel at a 45-degree angle, thumbs to the sky. A moment ago, when we took that forward fold and I said it's a hip hinge and it's a preparation for what we're going to get into next, we're there. This is it. Hinge at your hips, lift this left hip up, reach long out, either for your block on the outside of your right foot, we're still keeping our head above our hips, or you can use the seat of your chair and you probably have to kind of like scoot it towards you so your right hand can go on the seat of your chair. Left arm to the sky, thumb to the sky. Anytime it feels better to take the back of your left hand to the small of your back, you're welcome to it. Trikonasana, triangle pose. Now I'd like us to feel a press into the right big toe mound. We're not locked into what's called hyperextension, so we're not over straight in that leg, and things are sticky here. It's understood. Breathe into the sticky bits without judging them. Three moments, and if your arm is tired, I highly recommend that back of the hand to the small of the back feel. I know for a lot of us this feels a little bit better, especially for these longer holds that we're doing today. We're going to stay basically where we are, but bend our right knee. And remember how we were careful to keep a vertical line from our right knee to our right ankle when we were doing our dynamic warrior two? Let that be true here too. So you can either keep your hand on the base of your chair or on your block, or you can take your right forearm across your right thigh, but we're not crowding shoulders into ears, regardless of where we've decided to put that right hand. And maybe this is the moment where you take your left arm behind your back. Now I'd like you to feel your right hip hugging underneath you, so we're not taking a forward fold and swinging it out to the side. Right hip hugs underneath you. Bottom ribs, right ribs roll to the sky. And we stay for a few moments here. Let's be very mindful on our way out. Left thumb to the sky. I want you to look down and see where your prop is so that you can move it out of your way on the way out. So keep that right hip hugging underneath you and lift your belly. And if it's a block, move it off to the side. Come up to warrior two for all of us. Straighten your front leg, lower your arms. Turn all your toes to face the long edge of your mat. Pause for a second, that was a lot. Just let that digest. Then we'll carefully take our second side. So first, left leg turns out, left foot facing the short edge of our mat. You may take a moment to make sure that your block is nearby. Right heel at a 45-degree angle. Thumbs to the sky. Lift your right hip, hinging at our left hip, not side bending, hinging, reaching long out. Left hand on your block or on the seat of your chair is terrific. We're pressing into our left big toe mound and making sure that we're not locked into that front leg, so there's kind of a more fluid feel to it. And you can take your right back of hand to small of back approach if you prefer it. We'll let this work its magic. Even here, your left hip is hugging underneath you. We're keeping our shoulders out of our ears. Every inhale grows from the base of your spine out the crown of your head a little bit more length. And you use that space to rotate your left ribs to the sky in a little bit of a twist here. Two more moments as we are right now. Now we'll bend our left knee, and we want to take a little inventory about space, because I know for me, I need more of it. I need to slide my right foot back a little bit. And you can keep your hand on your block. You can take your left forearm across your thigh. You could take your left hand onto the base of your chair if it wasn't there before and you prefer it. And remember, your right arm can either be thumb to the sky or weave it behind your back, or some combination so that it serves you. As I say frequently, you're the expert of your own body, and I am merely your guide. Let's take a moment to meditate in this shape and build it from the ground up. The outer edge of your right foot is solid, and that back arch is lifted and alive. Low belly draws in as your left hip hugs underneath you, and nobody's wearing shoulders in their ears, right? A few moments of silence just to feel into it and breathe into it. Now this is our mindful exit. So take a peek down, look at your block, move it off your mat so it's not going to be underfoot. Come up to warrior two, that's a little spicy. Straighten your front leg and turn all toes to face the long edge of your mat. Then heel toe until we're hip distance and we can move about the cabin with ease. We'll take our chair to the front edge of our mat. Organize our blocks so that they're off our mat and off to the side. You could actually take them to either side of your mat, not underfoot, but either side of your mat, because there might be one or two of us who, for one of these poses, decides to use the blocks. I'm pretty much dedicated to using my chair for what we're about to do, but that's up to you. Now, I'm going to turn and face you, but you can turn so that you have access to the back of your chair, or even take this, because it's going to be a balancing pose, to the wall. So placing a hand on the wall might be helpful. Place your hands on your hips with your feet hip distance, and then stand on your left leg and hug that outer left hip in so it doesn't become something that has that hip swinging out to the side. With your hands on your hips, you're going to have a little information about what we're building here. Stand on your left leg, Take your right leg out in front of you. Feel at your hip, like we just did with our triangle pose and with our warrior two, that you turn that leg out from its hip. Not just from the foot, but from its hip. It's like we're dancing a jig. You're going to stand tall, and then either put the ball of your foot on the inside of your left heel, or walk it up to the shin. One or two of us, maybe the foot goes into the inner thigh. This is where I'm guessing a hand on the back of your chair or a hand on your wall, so in this case probably your left hand, is going to be a good thing. Hands in a prayer, it can be just half of a prayer with your left hand on your chair back or on the wall. And then maybe if your roots feel deep in this tree pose, you can expand your branches, or one branch and the other is on something solid. We stay a few moments here. Our dismount is just as important as the pose, so this could be where you use an assist, your hand on something solid, point your right knee forward, step your feet hip distance, and we return to our mountain from our tree before we grow a tree from our mountain on side two. Now, hands on your hips. Of course, when I say that, you can have your right hand on your chair or on a wall. So this time it would be the right hand. With your hands on your hips, or just your left hand on your hip, stand on your right leg, extend your left leg out in front of you, hug the outer right hip in, and then feel the external rotation at your left hip. So that's the turning it out from its hip. And from there we build either the ball of your foot on the inside of your right ankle or foot. You could put that into the shin, left foot into the shin, or maybe one or two of you into the inner thigh. So we're all designed a little bit differently, especially if your foot's in the inner thigh. It's going to be tempting to let that collapse out to the side. It probably means you're quite pliable, which is not a bad thing, but that means that the strength part of it is going to be the fun challenge for you. Right hand can be on your wall. You could do a half prayer, a full prayer, or start to grow your branch or branches to the sky. A couple more moments where we are. And then I would highly recommend right hand on the wall or on your chair. Turn your left knee forward, step into your mountain, feet hip distance apart. Soft bend in our knees as we find our balance here. One more little shenanigan standing up here. We'll create a figure four in our legs. And I think that the back of your chair is a great place to be. The seat of your chair might be a place for some of us. One or two of you, you could bring your hands to your blocks, but I don't want your head to be lower than your hips. So let me explain. Right hand on your hip, maybe left hand on your chair already. We'll dance our jig for a moment. So right leg out in front, hug the outer left hip in, turn from your right hip and create a figure four. Now we'll start to bend our left knee, and that's where I like to take my hands onto the seat of my chair for some balance. It could be the back of your chair. Like I said, maybe a couple of you bring your hands onto your blocks, but you got to promise me your head stays high as you do that. Right? Sometimes we get this idea that there's a status symbol in getting our hands lower to the ground. It's all about creating space. It's really not about crumbling to the ground, I promise. Now we've got a few things going on here. We've got some balance, some stretch. Can you feel the experience with breath? 3 moments. You can always bend your left knee a little bit deeper just for some fun. I do want you to curl those right toes back so it's not a limp ankle. We've got a little energy going on there. That will take it more successfully into your hip joint. Now if your hands are on the seat of your chair, maybe you walk them up to the back so that we can come up and release into our mountain. Feet hip distance. Side one is complete. Now maybe you use your hands on the back of your chair, because remember we're now standing on our right leg, left hand on your hip. Take the left leg out in front of you, turn at your hip, and then figure four. Could be that this is a stickier side for you, or maybe it's not as sticky. Interesting, isn't it? How our bodies are different on sides. And then start to bend your right knee. Hands can stay at the seat of, the back of your chair, or come to the seat of your chair, or there may be one or two of you who take your hands onto your blocks, but I do want you to keep a little oomph at the ankle, curling your toes back. I'd like lengthen your spine and not some preoccupation with trying to get your hands to the ground. And it's just a little meditation space. You can bend your right knee a little bit deeper, see what that brings the equation. I'll be silent, and we'll take 30 seconds to meditate in this shape. Now, slowly, maybe using the back of your chair, come up, release, stand into your mountain. Before we take it to the floor with the sun salutation, let's tend to our props and put them off to the side. So blocks off to the side so we're not going to land on them and find them underfoot. You can keep your chair where it is or move it out of the way if you want to. It's up to you. But we'll inhale, arms out and up, thumbs to the sky, V shape. Hinge at your hips and hands onto your thighs. Inhale your heart forward. If your chair is there, maybe it's nice to use that as your way down. One knee and then the other knee. And here we are. For this next, I like to use my folded blanket. It's a seated posture, and I actually like to have a pretty chunky seat to sit on. You could even use something like a bolster, so you could take some cushion from your couch if that feels like it's working even better. Now, seated upon your perch, feet hip distance out in front of you. So find a comfortable way where you can sit without a whole bunch of collapse. And then here, I like to use my two blocks, or your books if that's what you've got going on. Bring them back behind me so that I can really lift my spine. Now, take your legs a little bit straighter out in front of you so that we can find our figure 4 here. So right ankle on top of left thigh, and then if you walk that left foot in, you'll start to feel more. Maybe you'll feel quite a bit. Now, if you push into your hands and let your fingers face away from you, you'll lift your heart. And then we want a little bit of oomph in our ankle, like we did when we were standing in this pose. Find where the porridge is just right and do your best. We'll take a few moments where I'm silent and you can chew on all the sensations here for a full minute. You're welcome to close your eyes. I encourage you to breathe deeply. Now, if you just slide your hands away from you a little bit and lean back and walk your feet out, you can dismount pretty easily, and then set up your second side. So left ankle on top of your right thigh. It might be that it's basically a straight right leg, or almost. That's fine. And then you'll bend your right knee and find where the porridge is just right for you on this side. I do want that oomph into your right ankle, or your left ankle, pardon me. So you're curling those toes back. And we're seated tall, and then we have a full minute to enjoy all the feels on this side. 1 minute starting now. It could be that sliding your right leg out a little bit and your arms away from you a little bit helps. We'll put both feet on the ground. Take your blocks off to the side. Come off of your perch. Reclining pigeon. Lie down. We're using this figure 4 theme quite a bit. Right ankle on top of left thigh. You might take your perch and put it as a pillow underneath your head. That can be helpful. And then you don't need to thread the needle if you've already got plenty of sensation here. But if you'd like, reach through the space and hold either your left hamstring or around your left shin. And let the back of your head be heavy on your folded towel or the ground. Close your eyes if you're comfortable with that, or just soften your gaze. And then gently release this side, place your feet hip distance, and then assemble your left ankle on top of your right thigh, and that might be plenty. If threading the needle gives you anything furthering without a huge struggle and rounding, then you can go there. Close your eyes or soften your gaze. And now release your feet onto your mat. You can take your cushion out from underneath your head and then just spill yourself across the floor in our final Shavasana meditation, our rest and digest. Close, maybe cover your eyes and let yourself let go. Please feel free to stay here in Shavasana final meditation as long as you'd like. If you're ready, move your fingers and toes and maybe even stretch your arms and legs away from each other. Collect your knees into your chest and gently, carefully roll to your side. Bring yourself up, letting your head be the last thing to come up into any comfortable seat. And once you're seated, let your palms be up or down. You can make a prayer in front of your heart or rest your hands on your heart. But just a brief moment to appreciate how we feel after we practice. I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for practicing with me. I look forward to us doing it together again soon.